Hey everybody, I'm going to try to film an August video of my garden now. It's about the 15th of August and everything's starting to dry out. So I wanted to get this view before the end of the summer and just do try to make this a quick walk this time. So you'll see how things are progressing at this late time of the summer. It's a little overcast today too, so it's a good time for shooting. And I decided to here, since I kept this pretty fallow all year, to put some oregano in here. And so since I want to try to make oregano oil eventually, finally finished painting this arbor. I'll never do that again. Here is my peach area and my zucchini and yellow crookneck squash area, and of course I planted a lot of sunflowers here as well as everywhere else in the garden. But I want you to see that I actually have a few peaches that are starting to mature and ripen. Unbelievable. I have decided though I'm taking these peach trees down since they're so hard to grow. And then over here, of course, you can see that calendula is the gift that just keeps giving. And next year I will plant that on the other side of the raised beds, and I will plant the chamomile here instead. So I'll have a row of chamomile here. And I still have my leek in there, but I pulled up all of my red and yellow onions, and boy did they do well this year. And so I'll leave those on there for a couple days to cure, and then I'll store them. And you know, my raspberries are actually, every once in a while I'll still get a little raspberry on there, and boy, it's been wonderful. And leaving my shallots in there for a while. They can do a little bit more maturing. And of course over here in this section I pulled up all my beets and planted a new row of beets, so I should have some new beets maybe in October. And of course my carrots and parsnips are getting better and better as it cools off. My blueberries are still blueberries on there, but they're not as you know, abundant now as they were. And of course these cucumbers are producing a lot right now, so I got plenty of cucumbers, and the tomatoes are also taken off. And you can see how much growth there's been here. And of course these are not the ones, the peppers here in front are not the ones that I cultivated, that I propagated in my greenhouse. But the ones over here are the peppers that I cultivated in my greenhouse that I got in later. And these are doing pretty good too. Especially all these cayenne peppers that I'm going to make cayenne pepper out of. And my green beans are doing really great. And go over here. And as you can see, as we walk back towards this end, let me just zoom in here first. My winter squash are doing fantastic, and I cannot believe how humongous the buttercrunch is getting. Last year I had puny little buttercrunch, and this year, oh boy, they're just doing great. So this is obviously a really good area for squash. My second crop of potatoes here seem to be doing pretty well too, the straw experiment that I'm doing. And these two new plum trees did not produce really. This one didn't produce anything. This one produced 2 plums. But that miniature plum tree here is producing tons of plums. So I'm very happy with that. And let's get this from this view here. I just pulled up all my wildflowers here. Wildflower mix. And finally finished repairing my pathway here that had been disrupted after I had the big black locust cut down. And of course in my cabbage patch I pulled up almost all my cabbages. My broccoli is still producing a few little handfuls of little broccolettes or whatever now and then. I've got a few of the cabbage left, but you know, not much. And of course those are my Concord grapes over there, and they are going to be very abundant this year as well. Kale I still pluck. Glad that I planted a lot of collards because the chickens like collards. And still haven't got around to building my arbor here yet. And chickens are doing okay, except that the chickens are starting to beat up on my white leghorn now, so I'm very unhappy about that. Pulled up almost all the potatoes from my first potato bed here, and I've been enjoying those. And here we go. So I don't know if this was in my last July shot or not, but I finally got that raised bed in. So I'll do something with that later. Apple trees. So anyway, so I'm going to try to get through this pretty quickly. And walking down the pathway here, got my great green beans. I've been doing the 3-bean salad quite a bit with the wax beans that I grew this year and the green beans. And then over here I pulled up this big huge wildflower mix, so it's pretty vacant right in there right now. But good. And I'm very happy with this arrangement, how it's turning out now with the Jupiter's beard, and I added this white phlox here in the back to see how it would do here, and it seems to be happy here. And then my Jupiter's beard did revive, and now it is producing really well, so that was a good idea. Finally topped and took off some of the dead dahlias that I had in there, and they're still producing. So I got a little bit of color left from them as we head into late August here. Got a few more sunflowers that are trying to pop out here, provide a little color, and boy have they attracted the bees this year. As you can see, it's so dry. The grass is very dry. And proceeding this way, lovely Jupiter's beard, abundant color for about, seems like 8 months out of the year. There's nothing like the Jupiter's beard for color, consistent color, as well as this calendula. I'm glad I planted some here. These dahlias were so wonderful for a while there, and boy did they attract the bees. But they get so spread out and woody and dead looking so quickly. It's just too bad that they don't have more longevity. And coming out here, and some of that borage is right in there, mixed in with the chamomile. And here we go, and of course that rosemary bush just totally takes off and just keeps growing and getting larger and larger. And this year my Rose of Sharon really budded out, and I didn't think it would since I had trimmed it so much, but it did. And then these dahlias are doing great, and that pear tree, it's ready. I think the pears are ready to pick now, because some of my trees have been dropping their pears, and so I think I need to pick them. You're supposed to pick pears before they ripen on the tree. And they even have some figs coming up here on this little fig tree, so I'm very happy. I sure hope I get some mature ones so I can try something out with them this year. Alright, more rhubarb, and of course a big clump of sunflowers here, and then my Italian herb garden, and really took off and did really well in this portion of my yard in this soil. So I think I'm going to continue to keep the herb garden over here, the Italian herb garden. And I just don't have a whole lot of flowers left now because it's the end of summer, and you know, everything's bloomed out and died. But this was a good idea over here with this wildflower blend, especially when you have so much feverfew always growing up, and you cut that feverfew back and then you'll get new feverfew. And of course some of those large marigolds, but I do, you know, cosmos, but I really do like, oh, also a few gladiolas, but I planted them too late so they didn't come up. But that wildflower mix is often a good idea if you need a little extra color here and there. So there you guys, that was a much quicker view of the garden. My roses have been blooming off and on all summer. Let's just take a little peek. Of course, this is that fuchsia, that hardy fuchsia that comes up every year. Boy, fuchsias are wonderful, especially for the little hummingbirds. The healthiest roses I've ever had this year. And then, of course, those were 2 volunteer clumps of sunflowers, so I'm sure glad that those are there. I think that looks really cool. Kind of frames in my greenhouse. And I did continue to let those tomato plants stay in there. I wanted to see how they would do inside a greenhouse over the summer, and sure enough, it's a bit too dry in there for them, but, you know, they did okay. And then I've harvested my dill, but I'm almost ready to harvest the coriander here, for the coriander seed. So, okay folks, that's about it. I think we got this down and done within 10 minutes. So that's pretty good. Here we go. Say goodbye.